I'm Zach Stumbo. I am the State Homeless Coordinator, and this is our presentation for homeless children and youth data collection updates. And I'm joined today by Marjorie Conley, and she's the Systems Consultant in IT. And we're both in the Office of Continuous Improvement in the Division of School and Program Improvement. The topics that we will discuss today include audience and resources, definition and identification of homeless students, and under that we'll have homeless data entry, primary nighttime residents, unaccompanied homeless youth, homeless students subsequently identified as foster care, student summary report, student records transfer, QA homeless report, data and free lunch validation, and reporting timelines. So, I'm so sorry. So to start us off, we'll talk about the audience and resources for this. The audience would be district homeless coordinators or homeless liaisons. There are sometimes different words that are used for that, and persons responsible for homeless data collection and reporting at the school and district level. We have different resources that are linked for you in this presentation. That includes the data standard for homeless children and youth, and that has been recently updated. KDE's Education for Homeless Children and Youth website, which has my contact information and lots of different resources that we put up there. Our homeless newsletter is on this website, I believe, and we put that out every other month. And I think we link to some other webinars that we put out as well. Next, we have our KDE's Homeless Children and Youth Data Collection and Reporting website. We also have Enrolling Children and Youth Experiencing Homeless in School, the National Center for Homeless Education, NCHE. That's the technical assistance branch for the U.S. Department of Education for homeless education. We have the Pupil Attendance Manual, Residency, and Homeless sections found on KDE's Pupil Attendance Program Documents website, and the QA Homeless Quick Reference Card. So the definition and identification of homeless students. This is the most important part for anyone to know. Children and youth who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. It all goes to where they stay at night. So those sharing housing due to loss of housing, economic hardship, or similar reason. Living in motels, hotels, trailer parks, or camping grounds due to lack of alternative adequate accommodations, living in emergency or transitional shelters, or abandoned in hospitals. I'll talk about trailer parks in just a second because I tend to get questions about that. It also includes children and youth who have primary nighttime residence that is in a public place, not designed as a regular sleeping accommodation. Could be children that are living in cars, parks, public places, abandoned buildings, substandard housing, bus or train stations, or similar setting. Migratory children who qualify as homeless would also qualify as homeless because of their primary nighttime residence. So I do tend to get a lot of questions about a trailer or a trailer park. So what I will tell you is not every child that lives in a trailer or an RV would be considered homeless. It is true that you only need to meet one of those three things, fixed, regular, or adequate, to be considered homeless, but it does need to fit the situation. So it's a very case-by-case thing. Especially with trailers, you tend to know it when you see it. And if you have an inclination that they could meet the definition specifically for that one too, because this is one I get lots of questions, refer that to a liaison because that really would probably need a very case-by-case determination. And it could be something that they have to reach out to me. Some of us would have to weigh pros and cons for it, and we could reach out nationally as well because it's a very broad term. Marjorie, if you move on. With homeless data entry, this is the path that you could click through to get through Infinite Campus: student information, program participation, and homeless. And there's a picture on the page of what it would look like. Creating a homeless record. Select the primary nighttime residence from the drop list, and then select unaccompanied youth, yes or no, and we'll talk about what that means coming up. Enter start date, and that should be the date that the student was determined eligible for homeless services within the academic year. So not the date that they started school necessarily, but the date that they were eligible or identified as eligible for homeless. And the end date will auto-populate to 6/30 of that reporting year. And that shouldn't be altered because once they're identified as homeless, they have that until the end of the school year. And there's a picture of what it will look like in Infinite Campus. Primary nighttime residence. You'll select the primary nighttime residence of the student at the time the student was determined eligible. The letter S for shelters and transitional housing, D for doubled up, U for unsheltered or inadequate housing, HM for hotels and motels. This section in red is something new that is added into the data standard. The student's primary nighttime residence may change throughout the year, so they could start as an S but move to a D. However, the selection should remain as the student's status at the time of identification for the reporting year. This will allow for our data to be cleaner throughout the year. Unaccompanied homeless youth. This is a special population within homeless children and youth, and two conditions must be present for a child to be considered an unaccompanied homeless youth under the McKinney-Vento Act. First, the child or youth's living arrangement meets the Act's definition of homeless, that three-part nighttime residence definition that we talked about earlier. And two, the child or youth is not in the physical custody of a parent or guardian. Guardianship issues alone without homelessness does not convey McKinney-Vento eligibility. This is also some new information, and the information in the data standard is a little bit longer. This is an overview, and I would encourage you if you to go and read it in its fullness. If an identified homeless student subsequently becomes a foster student during the year, the student's foster care record will be created in Infinite Campus based on the weekly import file received from the Cabinet for Family and Human Services, CHFS. This will result in an IC record in which a homeless student is also identified as a foster student. And if you're familiar with the law, you'll know that students that are awaiting foster or are foster are not eligible for McKinney-Vento. So we just point this out so that you know there could be this overlap. Section D of the data standard of homeless children and youth includes additional information regarding the topic if you would like to read more about that. And I believe at this time, Marjorie is going to continue the presentation.
Hello, my name is Marjorie Conley, and I'm going to cover more of the data side for our homeless program. I'm going to start with the student summary report. This is a report is available by going, the path to get you to this report is student information, program participation, and homeless. And this report generates a list of homeless records for a specific student. For student records transfer, the homeless data transfers as a summary via student records transfer process. The data will be a transfer document, which is a PDF, and which means the receiving district will need to create new homeless record in their district database. The data elements on the PDF should be entered into the receiving district's database as shown on the transfer document. The start date should be updated to reflect the date in which the student enrolled in the receiving district, but the end date will remain 6/30 for the reporting year. For subsequent enrollments, once a student is identified as homeless, the student's homeless record, including primary nighttime residence and unaccompanied youth status, should remain selected in the student's record for the remainder of the academic year, regardless of whether his or her status changes. This includes students placed in a facility or group home after the identification of homeless in the current academic year. We also have some a homeless state published ad hoc filter. The path to get you to this report is ad hoc reporting, data extract, state published, homeless record missing for transfer. There are two different options. One is homeless record missing for transfer, and this is a report that's going to list active students in which the student's record contains a homeless transfer record from another district within the same school but does not have an active homeless record. Students eligible in the current academic year should remain eligible the entire academic year, and a homeless record should be created for the student. For students' record prior year but not selected year, this report will list active students who do not have a homeless record in the selected year but had a homeless record in the previous school year, or the student's record contained a transferred record from another district. This is a good report to help you to go to check students that could have possibly been missed for this school year. The QA homeless report, there's two different versions of this report. First, we'll look at the detailed version. The path to get you to the QA homeless report is Kentucky State Reporting, KDE Reports, and QA Homeless. The report detail version provides a list of homeless students that will be used for state and federal reporting purposes. The detailed report will provide student level data and the opportunity to resolve any data quality issues as it relates to the student's economic and disadvantage status. This report should be generated on a regular basis throughout the school year to identify homeless students enrolled in the district and identify data quality issues that need to be addressed. There's a quick reference card and there's a link on this slide that will show you an example of what the report looks like and explain how to use the report. The aggregate version of the QA homeless report will generate in a PDF form. It's going to contain unduplicated counts of students identified as homeless anytime during the reporting year. It also is going to calculate percentage of homeless students by gender, race, ethnicity, by grade, living status, and unaccompanied youth status. This is a good report if you're sharing with school leadership or for any additional awareness or quality assurance. It's a good report just to reference, and it doesn't have any personally identifiable information. So if you're going to share any of this information, this is where you want to get that. The QA Homeless School Report Card option. This report type can be used in assisting with verification of the district's and schools' homeless student group counts during the school report card review process. The report will generate counts of homeless students who have a primary enrollment in schools, including in the school report card reporting. The table provides counts of homeless students by race, gender, and other student groups. For data validation. Please make sure to validate homeless records to ensure accuracy for the school report card and for other federal and state reporting. The district homeless liaison or coordinator should ensure the correct students are reported, including withdrawn students. If homeless indicators were imported from prior year enrollment, the homeless liaison should review the homeless status in the current year and update the program participation indicators as needed. Free lunch validation is capturing the correct homeless student free lunch eligibility in the food service point of service system increases the direct certification identified student percentage and therefore increases the number of total meals that can be reimbursed at the higher free reimbursement rate. Capturing the correct FRAM free eligibility for homeless students in Infinite Campus increases the number of students that are included in the Seek at-Risk funds. Collaborate with the district food service administrator to ensure that the student FRAM POS record is updated. The QA detail report, the free reduced lunch column to ensure that all homeless students are receiving free meals. The report highlights the field as an error if the status is marked reduced or paid. Please collaborate with your food service coordinators to ensure the record is accurate. Pre-launch validation for homeless students. The QA Homeless Detail Report has a column of data labeled economically disadvantaged. This cell of data will be highlighted in yellow if the student's active FRAM record is not designated as free. The yellow highlight is going to give you an indication that the record doesn't look accurate. Any record highlighted and output as full price or reduced should be reviewed and updated in the student's FRAM eligibility. The reporting timeline for our homeless data. The homeless data should be complete and accurate by June 30th annually. KDE extracts homeless data July 1st annually from the district data website. No data submission is required for that. Homeless data is used for public reporting via school report card and to meet federal reporting requirements. On this slide, you'll see Zach's contact information as well as my contact information, and we're available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Marjorie. We don't have any questions. Let me double check that one hasn't popped up to the top, but we don't have any questions for you. Anything else you all would like to maybe stress before we transition to our next presentation?
We're in Homeless, we're getting ready to put out a series of webinars that I think will be posted. So if you are continuing to want more information, ask your liaison about links to view that. I don't know that they'll be public, but they should be able to, just so that they aren't nationally public because it's with a vendor. So if you want more information, your liaison should be able to get you some links soon, or email me.